Greece just blocked Turkey from 150 billion euros in EU safe defense funding. One veto, one ultimatum: revoke your 1995 war threat against us, or stay locked out forever. This isn't empty posturing. Between 2019 and 2025, Greece spent 36.2 billion euros transforming its military into a regional powerhouse. Rafale jets, F-35 stealth fighters, Belhara frigates, Spike NLOS missiles. The hardware is real, operational, and designed for one scenario: deterring Turkish aggression. But here's the twist. Greece's real weapon isn't the F-35s, it's the veto. Turkey desperately needs access to the EU's SAFE program, 150 billion euros in defense loans and grants through 2031. Without it, the Turkish economy bleeds billions in lost defense contracts, manufacturing jobs, and export revenues. And Greece holds the kill switch. Cyprus backs the veto. Northern Turkish Cypriots just rejected Erdogan's hardline policy with a stunning 62.76% vote for reunification. Turkey's isolation is complete, so Ankara faces a choice: revoke the casus belli, recognize international law, and unlock billions, or watch Greece's military advantage become permanent. The question isn't whether Turkey will respond. It's whether Greece's strategy will force Ankara to choose between pride and pragmatism. In 2019, Greece launched a program that would make invasion impossible, not by matching numbers with 36.2 billion euros that turned money into a geopolitical weapon. 7 years, one strategy: make aggression cost more than any adversary can afford to pay. Before 2019, Greece played defense, having severe economic challenges, reactive strategy, waiting for the next crisis. The doctrine was simple: survive the first strike, then negotiate. But survival isn't victory. It's just postponing defeat. Greece abandoned that playbook entirely. The new doctrine? Deterrence by punishment. Make the first strike so costly that no rational actor attempts it. Here's what 36.2 billion euros bought: 24 Rafale fighters, all operational since January 2025. Fourth-and-a-half generation multi-role superiority. 20 F-35 stealth fighters with first arrivals in 2028 and an option for 20 more. Fifth-generation invisibility that renders legacy air defenses obsolete. From Greece's current 211 fighters, 84 F-16 are upgraded to Block 70/72 Viper standard. The F-16 Vipers and Rafales, armed with Exocet anti-ship missiles and Meteor air-to-air missiles, create a no-go zone where surface vessels cannot operate safely and legacy fighters face beyond visual range elimination. 4 Belhara frigates, the fourth just ordered, turning the Aegean into a sensor-saturated kill zone. Achilles Shield networked air defense operational 2027. AI-powered threat fusion linking satellites, fighter sensors, naval radars, and ground stations into real-time battlespace awareness that detects drones at 150 kilometers and neutralizes threats at 25 kilometers. Army upgrades include Spike NLOS precision strike missiles with 32-kilometer range, next-generation anti-tank systems, and modern artillery, transforming ground forces into a lethal defensive wall along the Evros border and the islands. This isn't hardware. This is a system designed to make numerical advantage irrelevant, and this is not all. The United States expanded base access across Greece, Alexandroupoli, Larissa, Suda Bay. American troops on Greek soil means any attack triggers U.S. military response. Add the French Mutual Defense Pact from 2021, automatic intervention within 72 hours. Now, run the invasion scenario. Seize a small Aegean island like Castellorizo. Requirements: penetrate integrated air defense, billions in aircraft losses, execute amphibious assault under total Greek surveillance, naval vessels destroyed, catastrophic casualties. Hold territory against spike and loss precision strikes and modern artillery barrages, sustained ground combat with no resupply. Complete everything before NATO intervenes, 72 to 96-hour window maximum. Greek doctrine makes it worse. Island seizure triggers full-scale war, including the Evros land border. International response: EU sanctions, economic isolation, currency collapse. Total estimated cost: $4 to $6 billion in direct military losses, thousands of casualties, domestic rage from grieving families, and economic devastation that collapses public support. And that's the optimistic scenario. Assuming Greece doesn't activate Article 5, France honors its 72-hour intervention pact, and the US stays neutral. None of those assumptions hold. Greece spent 36.2 billion euros to make sure the math never works. But Greece's deadliest weapon doesn't fire a single shot. It's a veto. One word that locks Turkey out of 150 billion euros in EU safe defense funding and bleeds the Turkish economy dry, while Greece's F-35 advantage becomes permanent. By the way, only 13.6% of you watching have subscribed. If you appreciate deep dive geopolitical analyses, hit like and subscribe. It helps us make more videos like this. Greece just killed Turkey's 150 billion euro defense plan with a single word: no. Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis delivered the ultimatum in Brussels. Turkey cannot join SAFE, Europe's massive defense financing program, unless it revokes the 1995 casus belli resolution threatening war if Greece extends its territorial waters from 6 to 12 nautical miles. Unless it abandons the gray zones theory questioning Greek sovereignty over Aegean islands. Unless it recognizes UNCLOS itself, which Turkey refuses to ratify. Turkey refused every demand, and Greece's veto held firm. Cyprus echoed the kill shot with brutal clarity. Countries occupying EU territory cannot benefit from EU defense funding. Northern part of Cyprus has been under Turkish military control since 1974, with 40,000 Turkish troops stationed there. Now let me show you exactly what Turkey just lost and why Ankara is scrambling. SAFE, the strategic approach to future EU defense, is a 150 billion euro initiative designed to finance European defense procurement with low-interest loans and credit guarantees. It helps EU member states buy defense equipment with strict geographic requirements. 65% of work must be executed by companies based in EU, EEA, or Ukraine territories. For Turkey, safe access meant something different: the ability to offer EU member states competitive financing when they buy Turkish defense products. Without safe-backed credit terms, Turkish exporters lose their edge against European competitors who can package their sales with EU-guaranteed loans. The stakes were massive. Turkey's defense industry exported $7.15 billion worth of equipment to 180 countries in 2024, from Bayraktar drones to armored vehicles. SAFE membership would unlock the lucrative EU procurement market where financing packages often determine contract winners. Turkey saw a loophole. In a calculated shopping spree, Turkish defense giants went on a European acquisition binge. Baykar, maker of the TB2 drone, acquired Italy's Piaggio Aerospace in June 2025, giving Turkey a backdoor into EU defense markets. The strategy was transparent: own European companies, bypass the 65% rule. But the trick failed. SAFE's requirements count where production happens, not who owns the company. Turkish-based manufacturing still registers as non-EU content regardless of Italian or British ownership papers. In 2024, Ankara formally applied anyway. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte publicly endorsed Turkey's bid, arguing that Turkish defense capabilities strengthen European security architecture. There was just one problem. SAFE requires unanimous approval from every EU member state, and Greece was waiting with a kill switch. Germany has reportedly pressured Greece to soften its stance, but Greek diplomatic sources confirm Greece insists on the veto. The economic cost for Turkey? Losing billions in potential EU contracts where SAFE-backed financing makes the difference. Every major defense procurement competition in Europe now favors suppliers who can offer EU-guaranteed credit terms. Cornered by Greek veto and facing exclusion from Europe's defense market, Turkey is now playing a card it hasn't used in decades, the good neighbor strategy. Greece is using economic leverage and strategic veto power to reshape Turkey's behavior. I apply the same principle to my investments, using smart financial tools to build long-term security and growth. The ETF I'm currently holding has grown over 122% in 5 years. But what matters more to me is the stability it provides. I invest through Freedom 24 because it's straightforward, fees are transparent, and I get support in my own language when I need it. My investing philosophy is simple. Cash sitting idle loses value to inflation year after year. So I put it to work in assets that can grow and protect purchasing power over time. The ETF I'm talking about is SXR8.EU. It tracks 500 of America's largest, most established companies like Apple, Microsoft, and Google. Instead of betting on one sector or one country, you're spreading risk across hundreds of proven corporations. That's the stability angle. You're not relying on a single company's success or failure. Over the past decade, SXR8.EU has delivered around 13.6% annually, with dividends automatically reinvested for compounding growth. Of course, all investing carries risk, and past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Opening a Freedom 24 account takes about 15 minutes, but it's worth it. Check the description for the Freedom 24 welcome offer. Using our link supports the channel and helps us keep delivering independent geopolitical analysis. Greece has Turkey cornered, and Athens is about to extract maximum concessions. After the SAFE veto crushed Turkey's €150 billion defense plan, something unprecedented happened. Ankara launched a full-scale charm offensive across the eastern Mediterranean. In October 2025, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan shuttled between regional capitals, positioning Turkey as a regional stabilizer, a sharp pivot from its historical troublemaker image in Brussels. But the real earthquake came from an unexpected place, northern part of Cyprus. In October 2025, Turkish Cypriots delivered a stunning rebuke to Erdogan's two-state solution. Presidential candidate Tufan Erdogan, who supports UN-backed reunification, crushed incumbent Ersin Tatar with 62.76% versus 35.81%. Turkish Cypriot voters expressed exhaustion with isolation and economic stagnation under Turkey's hardline policy. The result shocked Ankara. Erdogan, facing pressure from his nationalist base over a failing Cyprus strategy, did something unprecedented. He congratulated Erdogan. Analysts immediately noted, the Cyprus election results show Erdogan is reconsidering his strategy. Greece sensed an opening. Prime Minister Mitsotakis revived his Eastern Mediterranean multilateral dialogue proposal. Greece, Turkey, Cyprus, Egypt, and Israel at one table. The framework addresses overlapping maritime claims and energy cooperation while avoiding the bilateral trap. Bringing regional witnesses ensures accountability. Athens signaled willingness to negotiate if Turkey shows genuine good faith. So is this real or elaborate theater? Turkey's track record suggests caution. Ankara has broken promises before, from Aegean violations despite dialogue to the 2019 Libya maritime deal that ignored Greek sovereignty. Turkey negotiates when cornered, then reverts to aggression when pressure eases. But this time, the pressure is different. Safe exclusion creates measurable economic pain. The military gap with Greece keeps widening. Turkey's response? A $10.7 billion shopping spree. On October 27, 2025, Ankara finalized a deal for 20 new UK Eurofighters with delivery in 2030, plus 24 used jets from Qatar and Oman, arriving in early 2026. But here's the problem. Even with 44 Eurofighters, Turkey is buying yesterday's technology to fight tomorrow's war. The Eurofighter is capable fourth generation, but Greece's F-35s are fifth generation stealth. Turkey just spent billions on a stopgap that won't close the gap. Turkey's diplomatic blitz isn't altruism, it's strategic calculation under pressure. But here's the critical question. Even if Turkey softens its stance on Cyprus, revokes casus belli, and recognizes UNCLOS, will Greece actually lift the veto? What if Greece actually lifts the veto? Here's the step-by-step path and what Turkey must sacrifice to access 150 billion euros in European defense funding. The uncomfortable truth: Greece now has maximum leverage. But leverage is only useful if you know when to use it. What follows is a strategic scenario based on expert recommendations and historical precedents. It's not a prediction. It's a stress test. This roadmap shows what Turkey must pay for peace and where Athens should draw red lines. Judge for yourself whether Turkey is capable of meeting these terms and write your thoughts at the comments. Phase 1. Confidence-building measures, 2026 to 2027. Turkey suspends the 1995 casus belli, declaring it inactive pending negotiations. Ankara joins a multilateral framework with Cyprus, Egypt, Israel, and Libya to address migration and maritime zones. Turkish naval research vessels halt Eastern Mediterranean operations for 12 months. Greece reciprocates. Athens and Nicosia abstain from vetoing safe funding for 12 months, conditional on Turkish good faith. Both nations commit to EEZ delimitation talks under UNCLOS principles, with potential ICJ arbitration if negotiations stall. Military flight interceptions over the Aegean drop by 95%. The EU guarantees the framework, with Germany and France mediating. Brussels grants Turkey provisional safe observer status for non-offensive systems and pledges 4 billion euros for Cypriot reunification progress. Phase 2. The Grand Bargain, 2027 to 2028. Greece and Turkey submit their Aegean EEZ dispute to ICJ arbitration, recognizing UNCLOS as the governing framework. Both agree to respect the court's ruling. Greece maintains its legal right under UNCLOS Article 3 to 12, nautical mile territorial waters, but strategically postpones full implementation for 10 years in specific Aegean corridors, allowing time for Turkey to demonstrate commitment through safe participation, pipeline cooperation, and Cyprus resolution. Cyprus reunification proceeds under UN Security Council resolutions, a bi-zonal, bi-communal federation. Turkish troop levels reduced to 3,000 over 5 years, with complete withdrawal by 2033. A property compensation fund, financed by Turkey, Greece, and the EU, addresses dispossession claims. Turkey gains full SAFE access upon formal casus belli revocation and substantial Cyprus withdrawal progress. Phase 3. Strategic realignment, 2028 to 2031. Greece, Turkey, and Cyprus form an Eastern Mediterranean Security Council with Egypt and Israel. Joint maritime patrols target illegal migration, smuggling, and terrorism. Turkey participates in East Med pipeline construction, earning transit fees while guaranteeing uninterrupted flow. Any disruption triggers safe suspension. Both nations reduce defense spending. Greece from 3% to 2.5% of GDP. Turkey scales back its Aegean military presence proportionally. Economic analysts estimate Eastern Mediterranean energy cooperation could generate 5 billion euros annually for the region. This framework rests on unclosed principles. Greece's right to 12 nautical miles territorial waters, Turkey's right to transit passage, and both nations' obligation to resolve disputes peacefully. The ICJ arbitration ensures international law becomes the referee. In the next section, we'll confront the hard realities, examining risks and obstacles that could determine whether this roadmap leads to lasting peace. From 2019 to 2028, Greece will have spent over 54 billion euros to buy something Turkey can't counter: leverage. Turkey, locked out by Greece's safe veto. Add Turkish Cypriots in the north part of Cyprus, rejecting Erdogan's hardline policy, and Ankara's options collapse. Chapter 4 showed the roadmap: ICJ arbitration, Cyprus reunification. The blueprint exists. Success means unlocking billions by 2031, defense savings, tourism boom, economic transformation for both countries. Failure means wasting another generation on hardware and hostility instead of growth. Greece bet billions on this moment. Turkey's next move will define the Mediterranean for decades. The clock is ticking. Special thanks to Freedom24 for supporting this deep dive analysis. If you're ready to take control of your financial future with smart investment tools, check out the link in the description below. If this breakdown showed you the economic warfare reshaping the Eastern Mediterranean, subscribe to stay ahead of the story. Check out the next videos too, because Greece's strategy is just getting started.